Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time today to talk about my Read Like BookTube Friend project for November. This month I rigged the system and I just picked Gloria. I only had 2 people left. So Amy from Amy's Bookish Life, love you, but I'm scooching you over to December because Gloria just reads more nonfiction than you. And it is nonfiction November, and I knew Gloria often reads nonfiction, so I wanted her to be November. I already had 2 books in mind when thinking about Gloria, and neither of them are actually nonfiction. So I had 2 already chosen, and I just contacted Gloria and talked to her about what I should pick for a nonfiction book. So I actually have 4 books here today that I'm going to be reading like Gloria in the month of November. So the 2 that I already knew, I'm going to start with them. If you have been following Gloria at Gloria Z. Thompson for any length of time, you know that she and her family sell honey and they have bees. They have a bee farm. And Gloria has occasionally, I think 3 or 4 times, done a video on her channel where she reads books that have bee, honey, beehive, something about bees in the title or on the cover. And so I have one book, The Beekeeper of Aleppo, and I knew immediately this needed to be a Gloria pick because she also loves historical fiction, and that is what this one is. So this is The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Christy Lefteri. I know Gloria has read this, and I believe she gave it either 4 or 5 stars, so she liked it. So I'm very excited. I love books that take place in this part of the world. I'm very interested in reading another book that is from Syria. The back of this says, every morning, Nuri the beekeeper rises early to hear the call to prayer before driving to his hives in the countryside. On weekends, his wife, Afra, a gifted artist, sells her paintings at the open-air market in the square. They live simply, rich in family and friends, in the hills of the beautiful Syrian city of Aleppo, until the unthinkable happens. When all they love is destroyed by war, Nuri knows they have no choice except to leave their home. But escaping Syria will be no easy task. Afra has lost her sight, leaving Nuri to navigate her grief as well as a perilous journey toward an uncertain future in Britain. So we're going to talk about the refugee experience. We're going to talk about the war in Syria, as well as this family just living a quiet, beautiful life outside of Aleppo. I think it's going to be heartbreaking. I'm pretty prepped to cry my eyes out with this one. But that is my first Gloria book. The second one that I knew I wanted to read when it comes to Gloria is City of Thieves by David Benioff. This one takes place in Russia, and Gloria is of Russian descent. And so I believe pretty close. Her grandmother, her mom, I don't remember. I don't remember the family connection, but I know that Gloria is Russian. And so this was another obvious choice for me because she has read this book and recommended it. She does say, I probably am not going to love this one because of some of the content, but I still want to read it. It's been on my shelves for a while, and I know that Gloria absolutely loves it. This is going to take place in Russia during World War II. There's a sticker covering half of this description, and I can't read it. But I do know we're going to follow 2 young men, Lev and Kolya, who are given a shot at saving their own lives by complying with an outrageous directive: secure a dozen eggs for a powerful Soviet colonel to use in his daughter's wedding cake. In a city cut off from all supplies and suffering unbelievable deprivation, Lev and Kolya embark on a hunt through the dire lawlessness of Leningrad and behind enemy lines to find the impossible. I do know it's kind of a coming-of-age story, and both of these young men are teenagers, and so it's going to have some crude jokes, in particular about women. So some of that kind of content I don't think I'm going to like, but I am very curious to see what I think about this overall. So that is my second Gloria book. Then I contacted Gloria because obviously I knew I wanted to read some nonfiction, and one of them I have on my shelves and the other one I just picked up from the library because I decided to go with 2 of the ones that she recommended. The one that I did have on my shelves is a book of the month, Will by Will Smith. She gave this one 5 stars, I believe, and said that the audiobook in particular is fantastic because Will Smith narrates it. And I am honestly almost halfway through this one already. I have started it already, and I'm really liking listening to Will Smith. We're not even at the point where Fresh Prince of Bel-Air starts yet. So I'm just interested in learning about his family life and how Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff got started and just the beginnings of hip hop. and how he was kind of at the forefront of all of that and some of the challenges that he faced. She did warn me about the language in this. There is quite a bit of swearing, so I was prepared going in, but it's not bothering me too much. Obviously, it's not my favorite, but I'm enjoying listening to Will Smith read this to me. I am still listening at my increased speed like I normally do. So that's kind of funny because it's Will Smith's voice, very clearly his voice, but sped up a little bit. But yeah, so I'm reading this memoir. I did not have a memoir on my stack of nonfiction, so I'm glad that Gloria recommended that one, and it gets another book of the month off my shelves. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be reading that. It's kind of a long audiobook, but I do love that I have the book as well, because there are some sections that have photographs. There's 2 different sections that have pictures. So I did go through the first section already. It's nice to have that in print, to see those pictures. And then the other book that I just decided to go pick up from the library because I really want to read this one. It's Penguin and the Magpie, The Odd Little Bird Who Saved a Family by Cameron Bloom and Bradley Trevor Grieve. And this is about a family who finds a little magpie bird and how it impacts them. There are quite a lot of words. It is, I guess, is it technically a picture book? Like, is this in the kids section? I don't know. I just put it on hold and it came to the hold shelf at the library. So I'm not sure where you would locate this, if it was a picture book or not, but I do love the photographs or the illustrations. It's a true story of hope and courage, beginning with a shocking calamity. Cameron Bloom's wife, Sam, suffers a near fatal accident that leaves her paralyzed and deeply depressed. Soon after, their sons find an injured magpie chick who has fallen from her nest onto the pavement of a parking lot. They name her Penguin for her black and white feathers. And so it chronicles Penguin's rescue and recovery, and the joy and strength that it gives to both Sam, the mom, and the whole family. I just think this is going to be lovely. I think it's going to kind of break my heart a little bit as well, but I'm very eager to read this one. So I do have 4 for Gloria. The 2 nonfiction, Penguin and the Magpie, which won't be too long, and then Will, which is kind of long, but I'm making good progress already. And then City of Thieves and The Beekeeper of Aleppo. So I'd love to hear if you think this is a good selection for Gloria, and I will pop back on whenever I finish one of them and leave some thoughts, as I have been doing all year long. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you soon. Hello. I just finished my first Read Like Gloria book. What a lovely, lovely story this is. So this is a nonfiction, basically photo picture book about this family and this magpie bird that they kind of rescue. So we follow, it's written by Cameron Bloom and Bradley Taylor Grieve. Cameron is the father of this family, and he took all of the photos and the only part that's really written out long is the prologue and the epilogue, or the letter from Sam that's at the end. Sam is the wife, the mom, and they have 3 sons. While on a family vacation in Thailand, there's an accident that happens to Sam, the mom, that is devastating to this family. And so this book kind of chronicles a little bit about that accident. But then shortly after they arrive back in Australia, this little magpie bird falls off a tree or a cliff near their house or something. They discover this little bird who is fledgling, too young to fly on its own, and hurt its wing in the fall. And they bring this little bird. Oh, and no vet offices or whatever would take the bird. So they decide they're just going to take it themselves. And this bird became a part of their family and really was a conduit of hope and courage and determination for all of them. The mom, in dealing with her, I loved the last little bit is a letter from Sam to readers, and just kind of gives the reality that it's hard what she had to go through, what she is going through. Her life now is so different from what it was before, and she's not thankful for it. But how she has come through it in different ways and different things that have helped. And she gives a lot of pointers and tips as far as how to help other people who are in a similar situation. It's a story of hope and beauty and family and being thankful for the moments that we have. It's lovely. I absolutely loved this. I just sat down and read it over the last hour and a half. 5 stars. Fantastic. Gloria, I know why you love it so much. It's a hug. It's hard. It deals with a tough situation, but it's just really beautiful as well. The pictures are gorgeous. Their family is beautiful. And the hope and determination that the mom has in the midst of grief and anger. And, it doesn't gloss over the fact that it's just really tough, and depression that comes with that, and the constant pain that she now has to live with. And yeah, just a lot of really difficult situations. But I just thought that this book was beautiful. It was beautiful. So I'm so glad that Reading Like Gloria finally got me to pick it up. Hi. It has been a while for me. I know it's only been just a couple seconds for you, but it is now January 11th, 12th. And I was on track reading Like Gloria in November, but as many of you know, my brother passed at the end of November and I never picked back up with this project, but I do want to finish. Things have just changed a little bit. So I believe I've already talked about Penguin the Magpie. Really loved this nonfiction. And then I also read Will by Will Smith, and I don't think I got on here to talk about it. So I'm going to do that real quick, because I don't think I talked about this in a wrap up or anything, because these books that I read for my Read Like a BookTube Friend project, I don't talk about anywhere else. So I did read Will by Will Smith in November, early on in the month. I just never remembered to make a clip about it. I listened to this on audio, which is the way to go because Will Smith himself narrates his memoir. I really enjoyed the first half of it, maybe even a little bit more than half. I was really enjoying like the Fresh Prince side of things and kind of seeing how he got his start. I liked his tone and his attitude. His work ethic is so strong, and I really liked all of those things. However, as he got a little older, as he got further on in his career, as the book continued to progress, I kind of lost interest. And in part, it's because Will Smith and I have very different belief systems, I guess you could say. I don't really understand his way of thinking on some things. He still has a very strong work ethic, but I just kind of lost a little interest as the book went farther along, and I didn't understand or like the ending at all. So I ended up giving this, I think, 3.5 or 4 stars. I don't even remember at this point. I'm glad that I read it. It got another Book of the Month book off of my shelves, and I was very interested. I have loved at different times of my life. I loved watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I can still sing the whole intro song. And I've also enjoyed a number of Will Smith's movies. So yeah, it was very interesting to read and learn a little bit more behind the scenes and who he is as a person. But I'm not going to be keeping this book. I'm not going to be reading it again. But it is another nonfiction, which is something that Gloria loves. So I'm glad that I read it to read like Gloria. And then I have a situation. I don't remember which of these I actually talked about. Maybe both of them. I am DNFing both of these books. So The Beekeeper of Aleppo, I'm going to keep on my shelves for now because I think it's just a product of my life over the last couple months. This is a heavy, pretty serious book about a beekeeper who lives in Syria, in Aleppo, and has to escape. And it deals with a lot of heavy topics, some grief. And I tried to start this multiple times and I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't attend to it enough to understand what was going on. I did listen on audio, so maybe I need to try this one in print. I just think now is not the time for this one. So I'm setting this one aside, but it's staying on my shelves. Then I also just recently picked up City of Thieves by David Benioff. I know Gloria loves this book as well. It takes place in Russia, and Gloria is Russian, so that makes sense to me, and I really wanted to read this knowing that she loves it, but also she had warned me, and others have warned me, that there are some content in here that is not really what I normally like to read. Number one, language, a lot of really crude language. And the two main characters that we follow are young men who talk a lot about masturbation and a woman's body and sex. And it just got to be too much. I got just about halfway, and I just decided last night that I'm not going to continue this one. So this one I am going to actually unhaul. I'm not going to keep it on my shelves. I'm not going to finish it. It's just a little too much. It's a little too much for me. Sometimes I can set aside the things that don't line up with my value system, but in this one, it was a little too much. I did like that it's set in St. Petersburg and outside of the city during World War II, and I mean, the famine, and also the government was keeping people, they had ration cards and there just wasn't enough food for people. It just was a very harrowing time. A lot of people were starved to death, struggling to get enough food to provide for their families. I did enjoy kind of learning and reading about that side of things. And these two men have to go, they get captured for different reasons. And then this commander of the army, Russian army, wants to make a cake for his daughter's wedding and sends them out to find eggs. It's impossible to find eggs at this time period. There are no eggs to be had. But they are on a hunt for eggs. And I don't know if they found them or not, because I'm not going to finish the book. So, bummer. Then I'm like, I don't want to just have those two nonfiction. Gloria and I love historical fiction, and so I knew I wanted a historical fiction, and I watched her favorite reads from 2023, and I'm very, very glad to be picking up The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. This is one that I have heard nothing but good about. It just recently came out, and already everybody who's read it has loved it, and even though it came out at the end of the year, it made it onto people's favorites of the year list, including Gloria's. And so I already know I like Ariel Lawhon as an author. This is a book I already knew I wanted to read. It was on my anticipated reads list, and I know she loved it. So I'm switching to this one in hopes that it will be the right way to end out and round out this video and finish reading like Gloria. So that's the update. I will come back when I have finished this book and let you know what I think about it. But this one was a little bit weird, and that's just the way my life has been. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, friends, I did it. I finished reading Like Gloria. I read my last one, The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I finished this in about 2.5 days, which is pretty good considering the length of it. I just could not stop listening. I actually stayed up until 1 a.m. to finish this last night because I was so close to the end and I just needed to know what was going to happen. This is a fantastic historical fiction based on the life of Martha Ballard and her journals. She was a midwife in Maine in the 1800s, early 1800s. Nope, 1700s, 1789. And that takes place in winter. It's the perfect time of year to read this one. Obviously, the cover is stunning. Martha is such a great character. I really loved her character. She's strong, she's feisty, she's experienced her own pain in her life. The relationship between her and her husband was really beautiful. I loved the husband. I loved how he handled her trauma when they first got together. I believe she had been raped. It never really goes into the details of it, but the aftermath a little bit. And I just loved the way when they first got together, how he was so respectful and patient with her and kind. And that carried on because this book takes place when she's in her 50s. So they had been married for quite a while. They had had 9 children together. I loved the portrayal of her as a mother. And I loved that even in both of those relationships, which I loved, her as a mother and her as a wife, she wasn't made out to be a perfect angel. She definitely was not. She was a fierce defender of those she felt were being treated unjustly. The story of this book is that right at the beginning, a body is found in the river. like frozen in the river. They fetch out this body and call Martha to come and check it out. She's the midwife, so she has a lot of medical skills and abilities. She's not a professional doctor, but she determines that this man had been hung and beaten and then kind of left, thrown into the river. This causes a lot of ruckus because this man and another were accused of raping another woman in the town. And the one dies in the river, and the other is the judge of this town. And we get to see in this book quite a bit of the judicial system in early America, which was very interesting. And one of the big glaring points of this book is how much of a double standard there was for the way women were treated by the court and the way men were treated. Men were kind of getting away with things with just a fine. Women were like, it was just so much harder on women. So the woman who accused these two men of raping her, she didn't have proof. She was home alone. She, a few days later, talked to Martha about it. Martha wrote about everything in her journal. So she was called upon to be a witness. So there's like this whole storyline of, did these men actually do it? And then what happened to this man who was found murdered in the river? Throughout all of that, we see Martha in the town with all of the different residents in the town. There are a ton of different characters. We see how she is as a midwife and just the way that she treats women and families that don't always treat her very well. But at the side of a birthing mother, like, how does she treat that? Like, there just was so much. There was so much in here. There was a bit of language that I kind of noticed at the beginning, but then I stopped noticing it because I was so invested in the story. But it wasn't a ton of language, but I know some people care about that. But I didn't notice it once the story went on a little farther. But it just was so interesting to learn about colonial America. The husband was friends with Paul Revere, and I believe that is a true part of their life story. Martha Ballard, again, was a real life woman. Yeah, I could go on and on. Clearly, I really loved this book. So this was definitely my favorite of my Read Like Gloria books. It has potential to be among my favorites of 2023. It's only the middle of January right now, but that's crazy to say. I just absolutely loved this book. It was an easy 5 stars for me. I already knew I liked Ariel Lahan, and yeah, Gloria. It was Gloria's favorite book of last year, so I'm not surprised that I loved it. So I had to take Penguin and the Magpie back to the library, but we do have these two that I ended up DNFing. One for now. One is going on my Pango pile. City of Thieves is going on my Pango pile. Not keeping that one. Got about halfway in, decided not to read it. Beekeeper of Aleppo. I just think now is not the right time for it. I would like to try again at another point. I did read Will. This will be my least favorite of the 3. So the Frozen River would be my favorite. Penguin and the Magpie would be my second favorite. And then Will would be my third. And then these two at the end. Wow, I did a little extra for Gloria because I was having troubles finding the right books. I'm determined to finish this project. So as soon as I finish recording this, I am going to get on messaging with Amy and see if I can figure out what books I'm going to read for Amy and set them aside. I do have 2 that I already know I would like to read for Amy. So I need to do some investigating on Goodreads and talk to her on Voxer and just kind of see what might be a good fit to read like her. I should look at her book bracket. She did a video about her book bracket that I haven't been able to watch yet of her favorites of last year. That might be a good place to start. So I think I'll do that. But I'm determined to finish this project, even if it is a little late. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear if you've read Frozen River or Will or Penguin and the Magpie or either of these 2 as well. Do you read like Gloria or not? I would love to chat with you down in the comments about any of these things or anything else that you want to talk about. I love talking to you down there. And that's going to be it for me today. Talk to you soon. Bye.